everybody doing? I hope everybody is having a wonderful, 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 wonderful evening. Depending on where you are, late afternoon, whatever you are. We got shout out to the people in other countries, all that good stuff, fam. Listen, we got to get to it. But listen, while you are here, please make sure to hit that like button. If you have not hit that like and hit that subscribe, please do that. Please take a moment out of your time to do that. Hit that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, it came across you because we've been stuck at 84,000 for 5 years. Listen, it just is what it is. But anyway, fam, please do that. Also, let me do a PSA to say make sure if you have not filled out and completed your OMB testimony and sent it in. They did extend that deadline, I think to the 27th of this month. But please make sure you get that in. I see you. Those of you all who have been paying attention know that the powers that be are already kind of out here, right? Saying, well, we don't know what's happening, and we're gonna have to do a show about that too. Well, we don't know. They putting out letters, y'all. We the people who were against disaggregation in 1994, I think the year was, they're against it again. So, fam, please get your letter in to the OMB about our ethnic designation, saying why you are in favor of it, and answer those questions that they are asking you to answer. I would absolutely appreciate it. Now, let's get down to the nitty and the gritty. Okay? Eventually I was gonna have to talk about this. Everybody else is talking about it. Everybody else is having a conversation about it. And today we had some news. They started reappointing. Now these two. Well, I think what happened is there were three, the Tennessee three, but I called the Tennessee two because only two were voted out, and then you got to go get it voted back in, right? And I want to start. I like to present, if I can, if it's possible, to present people in their own words when that's possible, right? So I think it was a Mr. Pearson and a Mr. Jones, these two representatives in Tennessee. They walked out. They helped protest gun violence, right? And then they were ejected and removed. And they said, which seems very undemocratic to me, to remove somebody because you have decided that you don't agree with. Republicans talk a lot about freedom, but it's usually their variety. That's the problem, is their variety of freedom. It's not just freedom. It's kind of how you view freedom. And if freedom conflicts with what they believe, you can't be free no more. That's not really freedom. And so I want to just give, as we set this up and we frame this, I like to frame things. I want to frame this first based on what one of them said themselves, right? I want to walk back into the state house where Republicans voted to expel me. So let's listen to what is being said before we get into the nitty and the gritty, shall we? Memphis. In January, my former high school classmate Larry Thorne was shot dead. Larry was sweet and beloved and the coach and secretary at a Shelby County, Tennessee middle school when he was killed on January the 10th, just a month before I took my seat in the state house. In February, in only 10 days, 20 people were shot in mass shootings in Memphis, the community I represented. And on Monday, 5 people were shot dead at the Old National Bank in Louisville, Kentucky. In the wake of the March 27 Covenant, a mass shooting in Nashville that took 6 precious lives, including that of the 9-year-olds Haley Scruggs, Evelyn Dickoss, and William Kimney, our people are traumatized. They want action. Yet Republican legislators refuse to take meaningful actions. Instead, some have averted their eyes and hurried into the chamber, walking through hundreds of mourning protesters to discuss a bill to further expand gun rights by allowing teachers to carry weapons on campus. But many of us did not. We stopped and embraced traumatized children, parents, elders. We prayed, we protested. In this season of rebirth and renewal, I stood beside my people with hope. For God said, "Let light shine on the darkness." Now, I want you to understand we're getting a lot of religious. It's the level of ADOS kind of version of Christianity. Is really kind of coming through here, that interpretation. Now, I want you to put a pin in that because I'm going to come back to it later. Last week, the people of Tennessee and the nation witnessed an assault against democracy when my colleague Justin Jones and I, both young black Democratic men, were expelled from office for allegedly breaching decorum on the House floor. My former colleague, a 60-year-old white female, and Democratic Representative Gloria Johnson, had also joined our peaceful protest against gun violence, but narrowly survived expulsion. Mr. Jones has since returned to the House after a vote by the Nashville Metropolitan Council. I'm hoping Shelby County Board of Commissioners puts me back in the House on Wednesday, and they did, from what I read from what I read, they did actually do that. I think I put that up a second ago. There is something amiss in the decorum of the state house when GOP leaders like Representative Paul Sherrill, who proposed death from hanging by a tree as an acceptable form of state execution. Mr. Sherrill later apologized for his comment. They feel comfortable berating Mr. Jones and me for our peaceful act of civil disobedience. This is Tennessee, the birthplace of the Klan. a land stained with the blood and lynchings of my people. Now that's a second. This is first was religiosity. Now we're talking about lynchings. We're talking about things that were specific to ADOS in relation to gun violence. Now I want to tell everybody, I'm not telling you how to feel about gun violence. I'm telling you how to feel about rhetoric. And I'm trying to help you understand rhetoric and how it's to be interpreted. That's it. And we're going to get to the rest of it in a second. In such a hostile environment for democracy, I'm inspired by the late civil rights fighter and Congressman John Lewis. That's number 3. We at number 3 in terms of things that trigger this kind of the civil rights movement, right? This is, you are triggering the civil rights movement. You are bringing that. You are using the civil rights movement to make this case. Okay, John Lewis did the same thing. Who in 1965, when demonstrating for voting rights in Selma, Alabama, endured police beatings that almost took his life. In Post nightclub in 2016, after the tragic Post nightclub massacre that kills 49 people, he led sit-ins on the U.S. House floor for 25 hours to protest the inaction of lawmakers in the pockets of the National Rifle Association. We're almost finished, fam. A few years ago, I helped lead a coalition of community activists to fight against the construction of this connection crude pipeline. Now, here's where I want to stop right here, right? Because I think one of the things that we have to understand, and we're going to get back to this rhetoric, I think what he did with the pipeline was good. I think that was a positive thing. Understand something. That pipeline, they were talking about eminent domain, taking property away from ADOS people, right? And he was there and they stopped that pipeline. Let me say, this is not something to say that like these young men are bad or good. This is to say what you have to build and how you have to build it and what you have to do if you want to include our rhetoric in what you're doing. I appreciate what he did, right? The residents, as it says, they were 98% black. That pipeline should have been stopped because what they love to do is come in there and take our property and then they devalue the property because it's a big oil thing over here that's spitting out stuff. So this was a positive thing, right? These people bought land and their land deserves to be valued. So I want everybody to understand this is not a case of just downing these men or saying what they're not. Let me tell you something. Our job, this is a case to talk to citizens who are in these kinds of districts. Listen, if you're in the district of these 2 men, I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to them. Because it's your job to ensure. Listen, if you agree with their view, this is not me to tell anybody how to feel about the Second Amendment. I'm not here to do that. If you are in their district and you feel the way they feel about the Second Amendment, then they're doing what they're supposed to be doing because they're representing you. I'm not in that district. They are talking about a lot of other stuff though now. They did, and this young man did a lot of good stuff when we talk about that pipeline. But they're talking. I'm watching as other things are entering into the conversation, and I want to make sure. What I want to make sure of is that the people who are represented, and not just by it's not just about them, but about these 2 young men and anybody else. You have to make sure that what they do is representing you, right? Because understand, Obama was an activist too. Understand that. Cadence is very orchestrated and politics is orchestrated. So I'm not even hating on that. What I'm saying is that if you're going to do something where you lift the rhetoric of the civil rights movement, where you lift the rhetoric of the black liberations movement, you got to do something specifically for us. And it can't just be gun control. See, I'm tired of people saying, well, our people die too of guns, or we don't have health care either, or we don't have this either. No. I'm talking about specificity because I've heard a lot of talk. Some of the talk has been about, well, this is time for a third Reconstruction. Wait a minute, you're not talking about a third Reconstruction if we're not talking about what it means for ADOS. The Reconstruction was about us. It wasn't about anything else but us. So I have no problem with you doing whatever your people in that district agree with, but be very, very careful how you are doing this, right? Because when all the politicians start showing up and hugging you, you got to be careful. When Joe Biden start reaching out and talking about how y'all the best thing since bee's knees, You got to be careful, people. And I shouldn't have to explain this again. It's our job to be careful where politicians are concerned. That is our civic responsibility. Earlier, I spoke to Representative Jones, Pearson, and Johnson to thank them for their leadership and courage in the face of blatant disregard of our nation's democratic values. Well, I do believe the Republicans absolutely disregarded the values of voters. You just can't kick nobody out. The voters put them in there. You just can't tell them to go home. It's not your job. I thought we were talking about freedom. Our country needs to take action on gun violence. To do that, we need more voices to speaking out like theirs. You have to be careful when power comes calling. Somebody said Barack was defending them too. I'm sure. When power is on your side, you have to be very careful, because not everybody starts out as a sellout or anything. Do you know that? Not everybody starts out thinking, I am going to do something that is not in the best interest of ADOS people, or people don't always start out that way, right? It is your job. It is absolutely your job. As you know, what's the best way to say this? It is absolutely your job as citizens of these districts. It is your job, my job, to make sure that these people are accountable. When all these activists start coming in and all these cameras start coming in, you're going to have to keep them honest. I don't care if they started off honest or dishonest. Like I said, it's not my job to try to figure out nobody's heart or who they are, whatever. You know, I see some dashikis and some Wakanda stuff. It's a lot of stuff in here. But it's not my job to try to figure out what your heart is. I need to know what your policy is. And if you're going to lift all this rhetoric, we're going to have to talk about it. If you sounded like an attorney and now you sound like a preacher, we got to talk about it. And we got to talk about why you're changing that aspect of yourself. Listen, it's not just code switching. Obama wasn't just code switching when he did it. He was becoming something new for a time to get elected. These are things that we have to talk about. Let me go to something else real quick. Just go through a few of these tweets, because it's just very interesting, and it's stuff that we have to absolutely talk about. Now, this right here, we will not stop. We will not give up. We will not continue working to build a nation that includes, not excludes, or unjustly expels. Unjustly expels. People power will always prevail. I agree with that. I have no disagreement with that. I have no disagreement with any of that. What I'm telling everybody is, you see all these people showing up, and it feels to me, and I could be wrong, it feels to me that you're showing up for individuals as opposed to policy, right? Let me ask you a question. If these, and people say, well, what never happened if they were white? Okay, that's fine. But if these were 3 white lawmakers who got expelled for this, would you show up? Would you march with them? If these were 3 white men who got expelled over fighting fighting in terms of gun violence legislation, would you show up? Would you show up and say, this legislation means so much to me that I'm going to stand with them because it's undemocratic? Would you show up or no? Were you moved by the speech, or were you moved by the policy? That's my question. I want to know that you're moved by the policy. Do not get so caught up in rhetoric. Ever since Dr. King, everybody can use preacher rhetoric, and they can talk to us about the crucifixion and who and it has risen, and they do not. And we fall for it. What I'm saying is that you have to say that this is the policy that matters to me. And whatever they do in the future, you got to say, you know what, I stand with that, because that's the policy that most matters to me. Joe Biden made a statement. Let's read it. Want to hear it? Here it go. Statement from Joe Biden on expulsion of Tennessee lawmakers for acting on gun safety. Last week, 3 students and 3 more school officials were gunned down in yet another tragic mass shooting in Nashville. On Monday, 7,000 Tennesseans, many of them students, marched to their state capital to call on their lawmakers to take action and keep them safe. Instead, state Republican lawmakers called votes today to expel 3 Democratic lawmakers who stood in solidarity with students and families and helped lift their voices. Today's expulsions of lawmakers who engaged in peaceful protests is shocking, undemocratic, and without precedent. I agree. Rather than debating the merits of the issue, these Republican lawmakers have chosen to punish, silence, and expel duly elected representatives of Tennessee. And that is what happened. That is what happened. You will not get any kind of disagreement from me about that. You're right. It looks to me like that's exactly what happened. But here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the process right now, whether you realize it or not. Whether you realize it or not, 2 stars have been born. Right? And everybody, all of the usual suspects, ladies and gentlemen, all of the usual suspects have decided that they are going to show up and show out. Let me show you. Did y'all see Bruiser? Y'all remember Bruiser, don't you? Let me put up Bruiser. Y'all remember Bruiser? Took a swing on somebody. Remember Bruiser took a swing on a man who's a Pan-Africanist and was just being critical of him, and he smushed his face and swung on him. Y'all remember Bruiser? He claims to be a minister, but he seems to have a penchant for swinging on people and being violent. And then he tried to tell everybody it was some ADOS person that ran up to me, and the man had to say, "I'm a Pan-Africanist. I wasn't." But Bruiser. Let me tell you, Bruiser show up at HR 40. I don't know where Bruiser get his money from, because Bruiser always showing up somewhere with a nice dashiki on. When these people show up, when the usual suspects show up, you just got to start asking questions. And you can't say, well, Yvette, that's hate or whatever. That's what y'all told me during Obama. What I'm saying is that you have to protect, you have to make sure, you have to hold politicians accountable. It's not up to the world. If this is your district, you have to say, hold on a second, you represent me. You don't represent the media. You don't represent Joe Biden. You don't represent none of that. Now, if y'all like if you all are happy with what is being brought home, because I agree with what the pipeline, the pipeline work, that stuff he did, what was it, back in 2013, that was good stuff. I'm not saying all, but you listen, when Bruiser start coming into your town, you got to know it's some kind of avenue to grift. And you got to watch people who are helicoptering into the district of these state lawmakers and telling them what they should do and who they should be and who they can vote for and how they're going, because they're going to have conversations. They can create a pipeline for you. You're going to go straight to Congress. All you got to do is maintain this and do this, and you're going to go straight there and talk like this and act like that, and we can get you right in there. And understand something. The Democratic Party is missing something. They don't have no young ADOS stars no more. Name me one. They tried to make Wes Moore and into one. Talk about he could be the next president, but he don't have no personality. It's like watching paint dry. You can win if ain't nobody, but you can't inspire nobody. So they got they sound like preachers. They're using the Bible. I ain't seen the Bible used that much, but if you want to use the Bible, I want to tell you something. You know, Peter didn't realize that he had betrayed Jesus until he heard that crow keep going. He didn't even hear when the first time the crow, he didn't realize he had betrayed nobody. It wasn't until he said, he said, I don't know that man Jesus. Oh, where he at? I don't know him. I ain't never met no Jesus. I don't know nobody with no name that start with no Y. I don't know nothing about that. He didn't even realize he'd betrayed him. Everybody who's going to, he didn't even realize he'd betrayed Jesus. Then he started crying. Everybody who is betraying you don't even know they're betraying you. Like, not everybody who is doing something that is against your best interest is aware of it. So that's why I say it's not about them. I don't know what they know. I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know what their ambitions are. I saw the one with the afro saying when he was in college, we're going to try to do this and bring Republicans and Democrats together and have a radical middle. It was some stupid stuff. And he looked different and he sounded different. But hey, politicians do that. They pander. What I'm saying is, do not get caught up in the personality of these 2 young men. That does not matter. Don't you go thinking these are politicians. They are not preachers. They may sound like preachers, but they are not preachers. Obama made himself sound like a preacher long enough to get reelected, and now he's in Martha's Vineyard sounding just like a white man all over again. Listen, do not fall for that. I'm saying your agenda has to be your agenda. That's it. Your agenda got to be your agenda, and it can't stop being your agenda because, well, they seem like such nice, and they seem so. What that mean? You got one job. You got one job, but it's not to talk to me about how nice this young man seems. You got one job is to hold these politicians accountable. And you cannot keep falling for the same thing you fell for in 2008 and 2012. If they on the right path, then you have accountability to make sure it stays that way. If they doing the right thing, hey, a little accountability won't hurt, will it? It don't hurt at all, because my thing is you got to keep activists honest. The party's going to come calling. I don't care what party you in. The party's going to come calling. The party media, I consider just like I consider Fox News to be the media of the right, I consider MSNBC to be the media of the liberals. They gonna come calling. That's the Democratic Party's outlet, just like the Republican Party's outlet is Fox News. They gonna come calling, and they gonna make you into a star, because the Democrats need a Negro star. They don't have one. they looking. What we got? Why we don't have none? You got to keep these people focused. Joy Reid and them coming in, and Bruiser come in and start taking pictures, and all of a sudden he down. Who let you get in the middle of everything, Bruiser? Huh? Anybody want to explain this to me? See, the problem, let me show you this. You got to watch this. Now, and then you get off a plane, and Representative Jones, when you get off a plane with the legendary Joan Baez, you know it's a movement of the spirit. She stands with us in our struggle in Tennessee, and she's hopeful to see young voices leading. We shall overcome. Now, here you are lifting again. Here you are lifting from the civil rights movement again. Why do you keep lifting? And then Joan Baez, then she marched with King. See, you all, let me come out of here. Let me come out of here. This is my problem. And this is where the danger lies. You got to always know where the danger lies. The danger is all around. You got to know where the danger lies in somebody using up our political capital for something else. Right? Our political capital is for the next Reconstruction. Our political capital, and that's the next Reconstruction will not come through state lawmakers. They can have a role, but it will not come through state lawmakers. It will not come through them. The Reconstruction program will be a federal program. But I don't want you to talk about that, because it can't come through you. Stop making us, and stop trying to make people believe that the next Reconstruction is going to come from these two state lawmakers who are talking about gun control. I don't have no issue with whatever they're talking about, as long as it represents their people. But stop trying to make people think that that's where it's going, that's what the Reconstruction is going to. Stop using that "we shall overcome" language. Everything you all do keeps pointing back to the civil rights movement, and I'm tired of everybody lifting from the civil rights movement. Hey, here's the thing. I don't care what kind of activist you are. I don't care what you're doing, who you work for, how hard you work. How about you build your own movement without stealing? Because y'all are going to squander all of our political capital. Because people are eventually just going to get tired of hearing it. It's not going to have no power no more. People not going to even care if somebody comes and they really are moved and anointed by the Lord, and they come out. They ain't going to want to hear that no more, because we hear it all the time. Every time y'all want to pass something, y'all come out and try to sound like King and sing "We Shall Overcome." And you want me to believe you just on the plane with Joan Baez that just kind of happened, it was part of the spirit and it wasn't orchestrated? That's another thing. Stop trying to make me believe the stuff is not orchestrated when I have eyes and a brain. Even the way you speak is orchestrated. You didn't talk like that. You talked like early Obama in college, right? Like, talk like that. Stop this thing that everybody, I'm tired of this. And I'm tired of us just falling for personality. This is not Reconstruction. That's not what's happening here. This is gun control. Right? And I'm not telling you how to feel about that, but I'm telling them stop lifting everything from the civil rights movement, because it's not being done specifically on behalf of Negroes. It's not being done specifically on behalf of ADOS. Stop lifting it and giving it away. You have to learn. Listen, let me bring this off the thing. Well, let me say this. He said the Tennessee Republicans attempt to crucify. It's close to Easter, so okay, you say crucify. Still, we're going back to the church. Democracy has resurrected it in the form of mass movement led by young people. That's what gives me hope. Everybody has to start learning how to build their own movements. I'm sorry. You have to learn. You can't just keep lifting everything from the civil rights movement. Everything from the language to we shall overcome. And you can't keep lifting that. You got to build your own thing. Like if there's a gun, if we're trying to restrict gun violence or whatever the movement is, right? You have to build a language and a movement around this. Let me tell you what's been happening is everybody's been using the civil rights movement as a cheat code, and they have been using it on behalf of everybody but us. So we don't get any benefits. Everybody can run around and talk about what is the new black and and do a little twing, twing, twang and a cha, and we go woo, and he ain't fighting for no third Reconstruction now. He can do what he want to do. He can do whatever his district allows him to do, but this ain't no third Reconstruction. Everybody got to stop it. Then asking him all the wrong questions. Lord have mercy. And I ain't trying to take no shots. I don't take shots. I just do criticism. This is not personal. It ain't got nothing to do with you as a person. Some of y'all are too sensitive. Yvette don't care about whatever. Don't care about none of that stuff. I don't have no personal vendetta or no personal animosity. But some of y'all are asking, even in terms of, I don't understand. Like, let me put this up. And I have, oh, Lord. Like, listen, it's not personal for me, even though this person, Miss Figaro, however you pronounce, has said some very negative things about me and sexuality and stuff. It's not my business. I don't care. It's not my business what other people think about me. But this question is not the right question. I asked Representative Justin Pearson about his black policy and reparations. Well, the thing is, reparations shouldn't come up in the conversation. And y'all will say, see, let me just say something. With him. Not in general, with him. Everybody keeps acting like it's 2019. It's not 2019 and you ain't Jamion. We're not just running up to people anymore and asking them about reparations. We're not just asking them about that. What I would have preferred to ask him is, you got a lot of people from all around the world, Democratic Party, all people, white people, people of color, all that kind of stuff. I would have asked them also, like, what does solidarity look like to you? What are the standards for solidarity? For the people who are standing with you and are not ADOS, like, what does that look like? Right? What is the demand of them? Because it's very easy to come and stand with you right now when you are having some issues, and then walk off. What is the requirement for solidarity? This is a great time for you to define what solidarity with ADOS actually looks like, right? Are y'all just having solidarity based on gun violence, or you have solidarity based on other issues? If you have solidarity based on ADOS issues, what does that look like? What does that look like? Because ADOS has we've been advocating and we've been outside and we have an idea of what that looks like. What does that look like for you? Right? What are your expectations of people who come and say they're in solidarity with you? Do you have any kind of things that you need them to believe in and fight with you on? What kind of issues coming forth in your district will you need them to come back for? Right? Since you are lifting the cadence and the language matters of ADOS people in the civil rights movement, I want to know how it centers ADOS people. I want to know that too. Like, how does this center? Since you're lifting it, how does this center ADOS people? I'm not talking about how ADOS people are impacted. That's a different question. How does this movement that I'm being told from other people that you're building, how does it center ADOS people, right? because you are centering the rhetoric, you're centering the language, right? You're centering all of the aspects of the civil rights movement. You're talking about Reconstruction, right? So you're singing "We Shall Overcome." So you're centering the rhetoric of the civil rights movement. Please tell me, sir, how are you centering the needs of ADOS people, right? And I saw it 2013. It looked to me like you did do that in 2013. You did center it with this pipeline because this was a mostly black area, and you did do that in your activism. Thank you for your activism. Now tell me how you're doing it now, because this is a very, you all have soaked this thing in ADOS. You all have soaked this thing in the civil rights movement. So I want to know, you talk all this stuff about, you talking about John Lewis and all. I want to know how you're centering ADOS people in this movement, right? So I think there are a lot of good questions that could be asked. And I think one of the things people are going to have to stop doing is just replicating what ADOS did, especially what we did at around 2019. What we did around there isn't what needs to be done now. I'm not going to tell you, well, I just did a little bit, but I'm not going to tell you all of how to do it. You have to grow and move in the moment. But part of the reason I'm not going to ask him about reparations is because it's not under his purview. It's just not. Now, if he's a congressperson, I'm going to ask about it. If you're president, I'm going to ask about it. If you're going to get seated in the Supreme Court, I would want somebody to ask about it, right? But this is not under his purview. So let me tell you what happens if you ask him a question that's not under his purview. What happens is he can say yeah if he wants to, because I'm never going to do anything to prove me a lie. I'm not doing anything for a long time that's going to prove that I'm not. Even if they have like a reparations commission, there's not enough money in these localities to pay what is owed, right? So even if you could play that game all day, that's not the question for him. A reparations question is not the question for him. You're talking about centering black needs, quality of life. We're talking about resources going into there. We're talking about very specific questions that require very specific research. Right? And as opposed to how do you feel about reparations? Reparations is a litmus test for another level, not this level. That's all I'm saying. Y'all got Bruiser there, man. I can't believe, let me tell you, Bruiser know how to catch a plane though. I'm just gonna tell you that. Y'all got Reverend Barber there. And he knew the young man from a long time ago, apparently, when I think he was at Fisk. Listen, you just got to hold, it don't matter whether, listen, I don't care whether the person is good and decent or awful and conniving. You always have to have accountability, because the politicians, the money, the promise of a really nice lifestyle, the promise of being in the halls of Congress, all that stuff is going to come. You got one job. You got one job. That one job is to make sure that person, whoever you elect, right, is accountable to you. And if you are in some kind of adoration about that person, if you have some kind of love in your heart, in terms of, I'm not talking about just like love of humanity. We're supposed to love each other. That's a given. But if you are too fixated with their celebrity, you get caught up. And the only thing I'm saying is that just let's not get caught up. Listen, if he's on, let me say something. If all these people are on the up and up and they keep doing things the way they've been doing them, they ain't got nothing to worry about. They ain't got nothing to worry about with me. They ain't got nothing to worry about with Betty the Bug. They ain't got nothing to worry about with nobody. If they on the up and up, they ain't got nothing to worry about. You don't have to worry about, listen, if you are at any job and you are doing your job, you don't have to worry about accountability. If you're doing your job the way you're supposed to do your job, you ain't got to worry about what happens when the boss does a review, do you? If that boss ain't racist or nothing like that, and they judging you by your work, if you ain't got to worry about accountability. Why everybody got so many problems talking about accountability? Oh, Yvette, I don't know that. What's wrong with accountability? You got to hold them to what they say, not what they come down there and say, and not what somebody came down there and put in their ear and all that stuff, and trying to make them, well, we going to have them, they going to be outside They're gonna be going from state to state. Let me tell you, the Democrats need stars. They don't have no John Lewis. Barack Obama didn't work. They sent him out here for Stacey Abrams and all. Warnock had already won. He ain't. Child, we over him. Barack Obama is not gonna age well. Barack Obama's policies are not gonna age well. Ain't none of that stuff gonna age well. You just gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. You gotta and say careful of what, Yvette? Well, here's what you got to be careful for. You have to be careful that we're not a stepping stone. You have to be very careful that we are not a stepping stone. You got to be very careful, because if you are not careful, people will use us as a stepping stone. If we are not careful, people will use us and the energy and all the rhetoric from the civil rights movement and the cages and the They'll use all of that. They'll bring a gospel choir in, and we'll be and we'll be having a grand old time, and they'll get elected, and we'll or help get somebody else elected, and we won't get nothing out of it, or we won't get enough out of it. The problem isn't that we don't get anything. The problem is we don't get enough. We certainly don't get what we need. We certainly don't get what we deserve. So you have to be careful. If you're not careful, you will be a stepping stone on somebody else's path to somewhere. You will be a stepping stone on somebody else's path in their career somewhere. You have to be very careful, because you don't get an agenda by allowing somebody to be a stepping stone. And like I said, there is nothing wrong with holding somebody accountable. As a matter of fact, when it comes to politicians, that is your only responsibility. Your responsibility is not to like them. Your responsibility is not to think they cute and give them a hug. Your responsibility is to make sure you look at your agenda and look at their agenda and look at your agenda and make sure them things match. That's it. In terms of politics, you looking at that, and you looking at them, and you looking at that, and you looking at them, and you making sure that these agendas match. Now, it don't just match because you like the politician. Well, I guess it's all right if they do that. I don't see why it's that much of a problem. I really like him. I've always liked him. Child, who cares? That's not your boyfriend. That don't matter none. You can like him and still be opposed to whatever he got going on, opposed to whatever he doing. It don't matter none whether you like somebody, how you feel in your heart of hearts. People got to get, people got to understand, like, your needs matter, right? Gun control is one issue. And if that's your issue, you should stand with them. But make sure you understand there's a gamut of issues. There's a lot of other issues that impact you in your district. So if you stand with them on gun control, you can tick that box. That's what you stand with them on. But understand, you got a whole lot of other things that impact your community. And don't let people rest too long on their laurels and what they did some years ago. Make sure that they're actively getting resources and different things to your community in terms of what you need. But you won't know what that is. You don't have your own list in front of you. If you don't have your own agenda in front of you, listen, chapters launching soon. That's one of the things we're talking about and dealing with. We have to have our own local state agendas in front of us. Right? And we have to be able to help people build those out so that we can have some levers of accountability for people. You have to have accountability mechanisms. But the first thing you have to do is get that right psychologically, because politicians have a lot of different triggers that they use for us to manipulate us. It used to be black business. Right? Nixon said, y'all don't need no help from the government. You don't want no government help, do you? You just want opportunity to do black business. Didn't give us no black business loans or no way to do it. But he was able to cut some stuff and cut stuff that mattered to us, right? And while getting busy on that law and order stuff, he was able to cut that stuff because we were like, yeah, we don't need no kind of handout too. Nixon right. We really just need some business. It was a con. You can't let people play with you. It was a con. You have to be aware that we are emotional sometimes. We're emotional a lot of times. And people take advantage of that. People know exactly when it comes to us what little things to kind of manipulate and tweak. What I'm saying is, don't let that happen. You can't, you can't let people go around and start talking about the third Reconstruction and stuff like that. I mean, the third Reconstruction, you wouldn't even be talking about that as a state lawmaker, because there's no third Reconstruction without reparations. So you would have to be talking about that as somebody on the Hill, wouldn't you? Or you would have to be supporting it as a state lawmaker. But I know you wouldn't be talking about just gun rights and just gun violence and just gun control. You wouldn't be talking about just those things and be talking about a third Reconstruction. How do those two things go together? See, I'm concerned that somebody's going to put the label of third Reconstruction on something that doesn't do anything specifically for ADOS, when the Reconstruction wasn't about nothing but ADOS. And yes, we need another Reconstruction because Reconstruction failed. And it didn't fail because stuff just happened. It failed because the government left and let us down and abandoned us to the Klan. That's why it failed. Now, if we want to talk about those people who got abandoned and left to the Klan and plundered and all that stuff, we can talk about it. But if you want to talk about something and you want to do, if you're doing a movement against gun violence and you're doing a movement in favor of gun control, what I need you to do is make up a new language. What I need you to do is create new words, right? And you're going to have to do a lot of thought and labs and stuff like that to make it happen. I understand that. But it's about time for you to get busy and figure out what catchphrase and what catchwords work for you, because the third Reconstruction don't work. Stop lifting everything. Please stop lifting everything from ADOS and co-opting it and calling it your own and using it for something that is not specifically for us. It's not to say that ADOS are not victims of gun violence. We're not saying that. We know we are. And we know white supremacists have way more guns than we do. They can afford them and they got them and they collect them and they hoard them. We know that. That still doesn't change the fact that this is a gun control move. You got expelled because of your views on gun control, right? And I don't have any issue with whatever you and your constituents like and want. None. But stop lifting the rhetoric that was not intended to benefit everybody. That was the rhetoric that was intended to benefit us, and it needs to stay right here with us. How is that complicated? And how is there never pushback against people just stealing the language? And I was with Joan Baez and we got off the plane and we sang "We Shall Overcome." That's not your song. I understand it. Well, they added "we" because they wanted to be inclusive. It still comes from some Negro spiritual stuff. It's still not yours. I understand they tried to do some solidarity, but you changed one word. That's still not yours. That was built for a specific movement in a specific time. And when we have that movement again, it's coming. This reparations movement is coming. We can sing that song again. It's not your song, though. Why y'all can't make up your own song? John Baez ain't wrote no more songs. Why I don't understand? It's all these musicians. Why y'all can't make up? Why y'all just gotta go and lift everything? I mean, people write songs all the time. Y'all should get some little AI. I heard AI is writing songs now. Little artificial intelligence writing songs. You just go get them to write you a song, write you a little ditty and sing it. I don't understand what the problem is. Why it's always got to be you got to take something from us. Listen, I'm not gonna stay too long today. So I'm about to finish up. Ain't no need for it. I'm just saying, when these people come to town, they're coming to town for a political party. They're not coming to town for people. Let me say that again. When people like this come to town, and when people like this start tweeting, they're not coming to town and they're not tweeting for people. They're tweeting on behalf of a political party. And you just have to, if you are a constituent in this district, make sure that you are holding your politician accountable to an agenda that improves your life. And you're not allowing people to come in to where you live and use your people to get President Biden reelected. Our job is to get an agenda that matters to us. An agenda, when we talk about an agenda, when you go to, if you haven't seen it, go to adosfoundation.org. Like, our job is to get an agenda that improves the quality of life. Reparations is our cornerstone, but we also have a black agenda. It's supposed to improve the quality of life of black people. Like, and that includes everybody, ADOS and everybody else black. Reparations is just for us, and we have a transformative black agenda. That's our focus. Our focus can't be every election just getting the politician elected. We don't work for the DNC. We don't work for we don't work for anybody's campaign. We work for our people, and you just have to stay focused on that. That's the only way we get good things in this life, is if we stay focused on what truly matters. And what being focused on what truly matters is you got to hold these people accountable. I know I said accountable like 20 times, but it is important. So anyway, fam, I'm gonna stop talking right there. I'm gonna go to break. If you want to call in, give me a chance, feel free. If not, It is what it is what it is. But it just looks to me like, we fall for stuff so easy. We just oh gosh, it is just something. Oh, I forgot that was Reverend Barber with one of the reps when they was young. Yeah. Didn't Reverend Barber just get a what would you call it? And I'm just saying, and I just don't understand. That child that they bring Tamika Mallory outside. See, when all these people start showing up, just fam, when all these people start showing up, you just kind of know what it is, don't you? Everybody's trying to get this energy. It's kind of like, you know what it kind of feels like? It kind of feels like when somebody gets hot, and everybody else wants to, can you work on my project? You gotta watch that stuff. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. That's all I'm saying. You gotta watch it. You gotta hold your politicians accountable, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Anyway, fam, give me a couple minutes. I'll set up the phones. And if you want to, we can have the conversation. I gotta find my laptop first, so give me a minute. It's around here somewhere. All right, fam. I'll be back in just a second. We are back. We are back. We are back. I am going to my first caller. I am going to 785. 785, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Joan from Kansas.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I haven't called you in a little while. I had to get away from social media.
I
I
understand.
found myself neck deep in stupidity, and I was about ready to drown, so I had to just put it down for a while.
I understand that. I'm drowning every day.
I just called in to say thank you, ma'am, about these two clowns. I saw the Democratic puppet strings right off the bat. When that Negro stuck that little weak fist in the air, I wanted to slap him. I'm not gonna lie.
You hard. You harsh. You hard on him. She said, Lord have mercy, you hard on him.
Yvette, baby, I am 70 years old. I am too old to play with silly Negroes and all this performative BS. I cannot do it. I cannot do it. When he stuck that fist in there, and it was weak as F, and the other one with that afro and that famed Dr. King cadence, I wanted to jump through the screen. I ain't gonna lie. And the rest of these Negroes are just running and hollering and, like you said, clapping and singing and dancing and jigging. And it's like, wait a minute, Negro, back up. If you go to both of them's pages, they don't have a thing on them about a black anything, really. I don't think the Democrats allow y'all to spell black anymore. But it was nothing but just BS. And I'm trying to be clean.
I
But I
understand.
just wanted to thank you for being woman enough to speak out, because I know it ain't going to be easy. I know a lot of these Negroes done fell for the okie doke. But I appreciate you bringing it up.
Well, I thank you, and especially you being 70. People just, well, Yvette, that's just immature. That's just like, it's like, no, I'm just telling you that you got to watch these people. You haven't learned with Obama that you got to watch these people. You got to pay close attention. You got to figure out what's going on, and they start dropping a bunch of stuff in there, right? You just have to watch. I don't understand what the problem is.
I don't either. Obama should have been a big wake-up call for everybody.
But you know, let me ask you. Sometimes we just like to be asleep, right? Like people who love sleep don't like a wake-up call. If you love to sleep, you don't like a wake-up call. The phone rang. You hate that.
That's true. And you know, Dr. Henry Clark had a saying one time. I haven't heard his whole speech, but he did have a saying about how we like to act like our oppressors. The more I think about that, and the more I live and see, he was right.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these Negroes don't want to come out of this. They're happy and they're content and they're comfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of them.
Well, and they feel. I think it makes them feel powerful, right? So there's no metric for power. So you see these people and it feels like power because there's an emotional jolt to it. But you're still wealthless,
Right.
you know, and you're still in the same position you were, but you feel like, yeah, we showed them. And did you really? Like, so it's you know, and I agree to what Republicans did was undemocratic, and you can't, you know, it was just ridiculous. But like, you can say that and understand that, and also understand that I have to watch what's happening here with a critical eye.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's the only way to do it.
Only way to do politics.
That's it.
I want to
Well, I'm
thank
not
you.
going to keep it long. I know other people on the line. I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you.
I'm old and broke down and can't do a lot of stuff myself, but I support all you young people out there.
Well, you can
doing
call
what
in.
what you're doing, and I do what I can.
I appreciate you. I thank you. I thank you for calling in too. You have a good day. You have a good night. All right.
All right, you too. Thanks, now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we like to be asleep. You got to hold people accountable. Whether or not they do good, even if you agree with something they did, you still got to hold them accountable. Somebody could go there tomorrow and get a bunch of resources for you. That's great for today. You earned your keep for today, not for tomorrow. 276, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
This is Michelle Anderson. I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah. Hi. It's good to talk to you. I really appreciate what you do. You know, I am glad, of course. I think you always do hit on 8 cylinders all of these, the grift and really the, not just the grift of these, of the, I hate to say specifically to the Democratic Party, but even more so how they are handpicking and pulling these people for these white agendas. I mean, really, it's never about ADOS, whatever you call yourself, ADOS, FDA, Aboriginal, whatever you call yourself. It's never about, the people that built the country. It's always about these liberal policies. And what struck me and what continues to strike me, just as your previous caller said, we're just not getting it. We're not being politically savvy to just not even show up for these people anymore. Why are we, after Obama, after Kamala Harris, I would even go back even further, but, I know we don't have that kind of time, but why are we still showing up to support these people, with this, foolery? I do have one disagreement on your reparations conversation, and I'll tell you, and it should be a short story, I'll tell you why. I think we need to hammer every ADOS politician with the reparations question. I mean, hammer them. I don't care where they are. I don't care where we see them. I don't care, if we just happen up on them at a gas station. They need to be hammered and to be ready with those conversations, because I think the harder we hammer even local, and I do have a story as to why local is important, but they need to be ready to address and press for solutions on getting, yes, our check, but our land, our resources, our infrastructure, right? Because infrastructure can be local.
But see, let me say something.
Development can be local.
But let me say something real quick. I don't think that's reparations. See, I think that's our disagreement. I think when you talk about my infrastructure, you owe me that just as a citizen. Like, that's not. And I think sometimes people. I'm very wary of doing that, and people including stuff like infrastructure, because I think what they'll do is say it's very easy to say we fixed your pipes, we fixed your plumbing. We fixed the dirty water, and you got your reparations. So there are certain things that are owed to me just because I'm a citizen in this country. What local and state politicians can't do, in my mind, is they're very limited in terms of the amount of money they can give you for reparations. They don't have enough. And like I've always said, this is a multi-generational project. So that's the reason that I'm very reluctant to start asking them about reparations, because they can't really do very much about it. Now, I think you can ask them questions about their black agenda, right? So when you talk about infrastructure, listen, we don't have this much resources. This is how much we're lacking. This is how much. When we talk about the good thing that the young man did back with the pipeline, you can say, listen, we have Cancer Alley, areas where we're polluted. We have all sorts of things locally that impact our community that I want them to be asked about in terms of resources. But in terms of cutting a check, in terms of that redistribution, that $20 trillion as a down payment, I just don't think that's the best use of a conversation with that person. But I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah, I just think. I guess my point is we just need to get everything from every direction that we're owed, because what happens? Well, okay, yeah, so you get the check, right? But you don't know where your water comes from, so you're still in this area where maybe you have communities or micro communities that are building up to build wealth, get land, or whatever you do with your money. I think ideally, yeah, you start rebuilding these black communities back up. My family is 7 generations in a black neighborhood in Virginia. Our families never left. But there were issues that had to be addressed on the local municipality level, and some of the members of that neighborhood, my family included, they utilized. Now this was 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. I was in high school. I knew nothing about the reparations argument. They utilized the reparations argument to solve the issues, to have debt completely wiped away, tax debt, things like that, in that local municipality, right? Now, that had to be explained to me, when there was an opportunity for me to get land there, buy some property there. that had to be explained to me. I didn't understand, what had to be, the foundation that had to be laid, even going as far back as my great-grandparents, just so that I could have a plot of land or buy a new plot of land in that area. So, and I say it from that perspective only because I guess yes, the federal level is going to do it. They have to be the ones to do it. There's no question about that. That's just the way it is. But we need to make these ADOS politicians, these local politicians, responsible for the conversation. What if they go to? What if some likelihood that these two young men, one of these young men, were actually on the straight level, and they had a serious argument? They're not serious people, we know that. But what if one of them were? And in the beginning, they had laid down a foundation for a serious argument, a serious argument that would push through reparations, that would help our people get our money. And until those conversations are laid, like locally, where you're looking at me, and I'm believing what you're saying. I see a plan. That plan is laid out. You can present that plan. And that's a plan that in every conversation we have, we're pushing. I think we're missing opportunities. And I think we just we need to throw everything at the wall.
But here's what I would say. Here's what I would say. If you want a politician who does that from the bottom, you will have to do what like the Federalist Society does. They build them from the ground up. They build their own politicians, right? So like if they want a politician who feels a way about abortion, they build and groom that politician from day one to have a certain amount, to have certain kinds of views. You might make the argument, I'm not, that these men they have pictures with Reverend Barber, whatever, that they were groomed to believe certain core beliefs about the Democratic Party, right? That could be a possibility. I don't know. But one of my main concerns about reparations is that I don't want people to confuse reparations with what should happen naturally in terms of policy. So when you brought up your family, my parents got their first home through like FHA, right? It was through some kind of, it was through a home loan that, was through like the government protection, non-discrimination. We're going to help you get a house because we're giving houses to Negroes now, right? So like, when I look at what people can do on a state level and on a federal and on a local level, and even the dollars that come in from the federal government, I just see so much in my mind that they can do that doesn't involve reparations at all. And I want you to master that. I'm not saying you can't master reparations, but what's coming through your door 99.9% of the time is just resources and knowing how to advocate and distribute resources that we get we should get as American citizens. Like I have a right not to have a sinkhole in my backyard, right? I have a right not to have hookworm. Right. So, and those things shouldn't be paid for through reparations. Those things are paid for just as citizens. And one of the things I want ADOS to fundamentally understand is that you should have a certain quality of life, just a basic good quality of life by being a citizen of these United States of America. Reparation enhances that good quality of life. So I don't want people to think that like I shouldn't have a base level of living. Like everything comes from, no, you should have a decent quality of life by the fact that you live in the United States of America. That alone should have you a decent quality of life. Reparation takes you up on the hierarchy, puts you up there. So that's my perspective. But I understand your perspective. I'm gonna try to end it so we can get to some other calls. I think the lines are full tonight. But yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Thank you.
No problem. Good discussion.
Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. You have a good night. Trying to get through these calls. Let me go to 646. 646. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. My name is Shaw. I'm calling from Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. And, just to piggyback off the previous caller, we're actually, I'm in North Charleston, and we're up for a new mayor. We had Keith Subney, and now we have all these different people, like 4 or 5 candidates running for mayor. And so yesterday I went to one of the candidates' meeting, and it was from 6 to 7:30. He sat there and he told about all the things that the previous mayor didn't do, the stealing of elections for 30 years, stealing of money, stealing of this, stealing of that. And thank you, and the numbers and so forth, and I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. I then raised my hand after an hour and 20 minutes into the meeting. I said, so can you tell me what is it that you're going to do for us? What is your plan of action?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it was only 10 of us in a room, and it was mostly older people. They seemed to become irate and was like, well, give him a chance. And I'm like, okay, I would love to give him a chance, and I'll give him my vote, but let me know what I'm voting for.
I'll fight all you old people. I'll fight all you old people. I'll take you one by one.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying, I'll fight all these. I'll fight every old person in this room. Y'all better stop. Because the thing of it is, that was very disrespectful what they did to you. And this is, and one of the things that I'm so excited about, and we have a date for the chapter lunch. I'm not going to say it just yet, but one of the things I'm so excited about is that you said that there were only 10 people in that room, and you were in that room. And I think the way that they interact with you is different if you got 10 other ADOS people with you in that room, right? Because this is and it's also very disrespectful for people who are in the sunset of life to go and tell me you still have a future. You don't get to shout me down. You had your time. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm talking about listen, I got more years. If I got more years, I'm squarely middle-aged. So I'm like, I got probably not as many ahead as behind, but whatever. But if you are old, you got way more years behind you than in front of you. You don't get to tell me to give him a chance. You better sit down and you better sit down and be quiet and stop all that acting up. You don't get to do that. There is a refusal to say this person has more, they have more of a future. So this person gets to take the lead. This younger person than me gets to take the lead because they might have a future. They might have kids. They got a lot of stuff going on. You don't get to tell me to be quiet. That was a very disrespectful thing. But go on. I'm sorry, fam.
And it was disturbing because where we are in the south end of North Charleston, which is closer to downtown Charleston than uptown Charleston, it's a food desert here. So, and plus the employment for the young black men is horrible. It's horrible. It's one of the highest from my understanding in the country. So my thing is, what is your outreach program? Oh, I used to do this, I used to do that. So how does this translate into your mayor, your candidacy? And then he got so upset to the point he told me, if you had a problem with how things are going, you should have spoken to the previous mayor. I'm like, excuse me, I just returned from New York after 32 years. I'm here now, and I'm asking you, what is your plan of action? And everybody just was upset, irate, give him a chance. Even Lonnie Hamilton, Lonnie Hamilton, that they say is the elder, he was like, give him a damn chance. I said, you know what, thank you all.
No, he didn't cuss at you.
And I got up and left.
He cussed at you.
You got it.
Oh my God! Out! See, that's why I have to we got to train people right, because I'll be done mace one of these old people. I just be give him a because it's just they just
campaigning for Obama again. Give him a chance. Okay, you gave Obama 2 chances, and where are you? And I felt like I was giving the same thing. Give him a chance. Okay, y'all sound like y'all campaigning for Obama again. I'm out. I had enough. Thank y'all.
Yeah,
y'all have a good night.
Yeah, how long we gonna do this though? How long we gonna do this? Give him a chance though. How is that worked out? We don't have the ability to reflect and adjust, it seems. A lot of us don't. And that's why ADOS has to take the leadership, and the ADOS Advocacy Foundation has to take leadership, because they don't have the ability to look back and say, we made some mistakes, and tweak what you were doing. Like, I don't think it requires a whole overhaul, but you don't have the ability to tweak. You got to give him a chance. Stop talking loud. It's just, but I understand exactly what you're saying.
They are already retired and okay, and the funds are coming in and they're settled. And I even spoke to them. I said, well, what about the black boys who's over here on the streets and hanging out all day? Well, we help them, but all they want to do is sell drugs. Okay, well, I don't know if they're selling drugs, so you're assuming that they're selling drugs. But then you're talking about getting them registered to vote. So you want them to vote, and so you can say, all y'all want to do is sell drugs. So I don't understand. How are you outreaching and helping these young men? Because they need jobs.
Yeah,
They really need, and so all that to say, Yvette, I can't even ask about reparations. These people don't even want to help their own children. They don't want to help their own sons.
They don't even want to help their own children, but they want them to vote, but they don't want to help them. See, but they're now on the street because they don't have a life. Like, you be on the street when your life don't mean nothing. When you don't see no opportunity for yourself, you don't see nothing happening for yourself. I might as well be on the corner, ain't nothing happening. Like, I might as well be. When you have a vision and there's opportunity in your life, you're less likely to be just out on the corner. But y'all don't want to give them opportunity, but you want to tell them to go vote. And then when listen, we did a great conversation on the Patreon Monday. Or was it discussing about the ways in which we are powerless and we don't move the needle in terms of politics, which helps explain, like the ADOS community, Hispanics do, everybody else do, we don't. Which explains why a lot of people are disaffected. Now, you can't just sit it out. You got to get involved. You got to do that. But that's part of the reason they don't believe is because the outcomes in terms of our politics don't benefit them. But you have people sitting in that room with that politician who will protect the politician and then and jump on their own kids and grandkids. That's it. So.
And that's what I mean. They shut me down, and I was like, "Wait a minute! Is it me? Is it my attitude? Did I say something wrong?" I asked the man, "What was his plan of actions? Y'all mad at me because of that?"
Yeah.
I'm done. I was done. But that's all I wanted to say, Yvette. But I thought maybe I was going crazy.
No, that's the way they are. No, that's the way they are.
I think it was disrespectful.
Not all of them. I'm not saying all older people, because I have some people. The nice lady who just called in, we got some great. But the elder people who called in this show, they with it. They with it. I ain't talking about them. Like, right. I have been in spaces where I have to shut older people down because they don't understand. It is 2023. I need you to hush and don't you call. Listen, I'm 48 years old. Don't you look at me like I'm 12. Like, don't you? We're not gonna do that while you're young. No, I'm not. I'm a middle-aged woman, and you're gonna act like it, and I'm gonna get the respect of a middle-aged woman in this room. Like, that's what you, and you have to demand it. But you walking in that room, what we want to give you the ability to do is walk in that room as part of a chapter, and a bunch of ADOS people in there with you. And so these old people don't just get to jump you in that room.
And I'm 51 years old. Number one, I'm 51, and at the same time, this is Charleston, South Carolina. All we know is to respect our elders. But you know what I've learned in becoming 51? That you have elders and you just have old people. And now I'm starting to see the difference. Okay.
I said that. Somebody stole that from me. I was the first one who said that all elders ain't elders. Some of them just old people. Y'all be taking stuff from me, and I don't like it. But I got to get to some other callers, fam. But I appreciate you, and I agree. Like and let me just say this: respect is a mutual thing. Like, I'm not going to respect a disrespectful person. I don't care whether you're 15 and I'll have more or 85 and I'll have more patience for the 15-year-old because they don't know enough to, like, let me get you in check a little bit. Like, you 85 and you just disrespectful? Nah. But thank you, fam. I appreciate the call. You made a good point. I appreciate you. Thank you, fam. Woo.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good one. They be acting up. Let me go to my next caller. Woo! 617. What's going on? How you doing? My goodness.
Hey, Yvette, it's Reggie. What's happening?
What's going on, Reggie? There's a lot going on.
A lot going on. These people raising my blood pressure, Yvette.
I know. They be on it. They be on the wrong stuff all the time, 24/7.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people are missing about what you're saying. They're just too, like to your point, they're too busy parroting ADOS instead of running around locally and figuring out what needs to happen and advocating from there and being strategic and smart enough and informed enough to tie the local issues that you're dealing with back to slavery. Mm-hmm. Like you said in Atlanta at that round table, everything that's going on today, I can draw a line back to slavery. And you can tell who's serious and who's not, and who's informed and who's not, who's grifting and who's not, by their ability to engage locally and tie that back to reparations without screaming reparations. I'll kind of give you an example of just kind of, and this isn't a brag. I'm just trying to lay it out and kind of frame it so that people can understand it in a practical way.
Okay.
If you give me a minute.
Sure.
Because we know the reparations conversations kind of moving in Boston. We just had the local ordinance to establish a commission. There's state legislation that's been filed on the Senate side. Now, in terms of the local hearings and advocacy, y'all know I was there. Y'all know Adolph Boston was there. But here's the problem. A lot of people, in the same way that people are swooping to Tennessee because there's a flashpoint, you had everybody and their mama show up on that Zoom and start babbling. When you had the in-person hearings as we got closer to the vote, you had all kind of people coming in talking about what needs to happen in Boston and don't even live or vote in Boston.
Mm.
But when it was time to talk about redistricting on the state level, I was there testifying, and what I spoke about was how do you count the Negroes? I tied it all the way back to the specificity of slavery as it happened in Boston and Massachusetts. And I told the people at the state level, when you're redrawing those maps, you have to take that into account as you walk through history with that specific group of people. Because that ends up being what we call a community of interest. And then when we did the Boston redistricting as far as the local, I came in with the same argument and doubled down. I said, those who come from slavery constitute a community of interest. Now, at the redistricting hearing at the state level, at the city level, I did not see any splinters there. I didn't hear from Charlemagne. I didn't hear from Tariq. I didn't hear from any of those people. I'm all by myself. And when we get to rent control and to housing, when I'm in the spaces, a lot of times I bring up that the redlining and the dispossession of land and the splitting of neighborhoods ties fundamentally to the fact that white people in America in general does not want to live next to their former slaves. Get them out the way.
Ooh.
That is how you tie it in. You don't just come up and scream reparations because we know it's a federal project. Not saying you run away from the conversation when it's happening in terms of the local commissions and the state commissions, but if you just scream reparations and run up when the cameras are gone, and you leave Reggie by himself when it's time to talk about rent control, when it's time to talk about redistricting, when you talk about policing, because they were slave catchers, tie it back to slavery. Like, if you leaving people like me out there by myself, you can't come back and talk. You can't come back screaming about what needs to happen in terms of reparations locally, because to your point, Yvette, there is a transformative, comprehensive Black agenda that needs to happen to protect and buttress that reparations that comes down federally. But if you're like the Breakfast Club, you just want to come up and say, I don't see Black agenda on your website. But you can't even tell me what the Black agenda needs to happen for Tennessee.
Well, and here's the thing, Reggie. I would honestly say it becomes lazy, because I don't think people understand.
Yeah.
Jamie Young was also running up mostly to like national politicians, right? Like or people in Congress and stuff like that. And it's lazy, like when you have all of that complex stuff, or whether you talk about gentrification or whether you talk about redistricting, whatever you're talking about, it's easy to just, instead of learning about those issues and what you should say about those issues and looking at those red line maps and everything we talk about, instead of doing that work, it's easy just to run up to somebody and say, what about reparations? And even if you're going to ask them about their Black agenda, it's always good to kind of research the district yourself and formulate in your mind what you think that agenda should look like. And so you already have an answer in your head in terms of what it should be that you could push back, in terms of whatever they say. It's almost like we gave people a way, something to lean on in terms of just like, but no, this is not your black agenda. This is your reparations. These are two different things. You still have to advocate. And it's just people show up, they'll go to these little silly reparations rally and hop around and not go when people are talking about rent control. But then you'll complain. You'll complain, Reggie. You'll go online and say, oh my God, I can't believe rent in Atlanta is $2,500 or whatever the case may be. Is this much for a 1-bedroom? I can't find a 1-bed. You'll complain, but you won't show up for that. And you don't want to advocate for that. It's a problem.
Yeah, it is, and to your point, it's very lazy and just trying to be a cookie cutter ADOS. Like, to your point, it's not 2019, and you are not Jamie on. Like, what sense does, like, and I'll even make it specific. Like, what sense does it make, running behind Clyburn with a camera? It's not the HR 40 hearing.
Nope.
Like, the HR 40 hearing is not happening. So you running up behind Clyburn talking about reparations, and you can't run down what's going on in the district and how you're going to impact that. Like, that does nobody no good. And running up on, just trying to pull a Jamie on like that. Like, that's not what time it is. Like, that's
we did
been
that
done.
already.
That's been laid to make the push nationally. Now you got to go back and do the local work. And I'm telling you that apart from people hollering, it's like I don't like to broadcast it. You and I have had the conversation. I've had it with others, but it's like this is really work. It's exhausting, taxing work, but it's got to get done. You can't just show up like when the cameras are on, or that your little reparations pet project. Like, this is work. It's reparations and a transformative black agenda. And Yvette, I appreciate you, and I cannot wait for these chapters.
Me too.
I'm tired of these Negroes.
Me too,
I'm
fam.
ready to go
But you
with
know
that.
what, Reggie? I think we're lunching at the exact right time. Like, I say this all the time, but we gave everybody a chance. Like, everybody said, we gonna do it. Well, that was like 2020 COVID, and we've been quiet in here building, and y'all said y'all was gonna build something, and I come back outside, and I say, hey, we outside, what y'all built, and ain't nothing out here. Right, all the real work has been being done by ADOS people in chapters. Well, we've been doing this, and whose chapters never went away. Like, what are we talking about? Y'all said y'all was gonna. We should have reparations. The way y'all said y'all was gonna work. So I really, for me, and people don't even understand. Even with Jamie, and part of that thing was to get people on the record. It was to normalize reparations. Well, HR 40 was in play. We didn't know what was going to happen with that. There were a lot of reasons why what he was doing in that moment were really beneficial. That's not the moment, and y'all just keep replicating and regurgitating instead of creating. Life is about creation. It is not about replication. You're gonna run into a wall if you can't think your own thoughts and have a political imagination of your own.
You're so right, Yvette. But I've talked enough. But I really appreciate you taking the time out to have the conversation, and I appreciate the work you're doing. And again, I'm so ready for these chapters. Y'all go to joinados.com.
Absolutely.
And let's get this done.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you. I always appreciate your calls. Yeah, you got to put in the work. And that's, it can't be the cheat code. We got redistricting. We got gentrification. We got everything that you gotta do. It can't just be everywhere. It's only a reparations conversation. Every policy out there is impacting us in some way, some more than others. So if we're talking about gentrification, we're talking about rent control, we don't talk about anything. It's great. We should always talk about access to housing and the ability to own a home. I agree with that conversation. But a lot of us are renters, and we have to talk about that in terms of affordable housing as well. Those are conversations that still have to happen because they still impact us in our ability to have a good life. And you can't just be just like, well, I'm just going to ask you about reparations. Well, I'm going to ask you you tell them what, you got to tell the politician what their agenda should be. Well, I think since most people in your district make blah, 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 you should blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the black people in your district, blah, blah, blah. You tell them. They don't tell you, they work for you. 510, what's your name, where you calling from, what's on your mind?
Hi, my name is Ron Gilmore, ADOS Seattle.
Hey, what's going on with you?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking my call. I really appreciate you and Tone, what you do. God bless you both.
Thank you.
I wanted to kind of get back to what you were talking about at the end of your show and the gun violence. you know. And I was thinking about that this morning. It was just kind of bizarre to hear you speaking about it. And excuse me, it's my first time calling in, so I'm a little nervous. I apologize. Anyway, but I was just thinking about that. You know, gun violence is more about, you know, mental health than it is about an inanimate metal object, you know. But speaking about metal objects, de Blasio, Mayor de Blasio just said that the digidogs are out of the pound. So now we have these metal dogs that are going to be policing the streets soon, basically in our future. And who knows if they may have a mistake code, you know, that the AI trips out the dog and the dog is rogue and it just attacks black people. Who knows? You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Well, they say AI. They say AI is racist. I saw that somewhere. They said that they say AI is racist. It can be. People say that what technology can't be racist. Yes, it can. So go on. I'm sorry, friend.
Absolutely. And if you look at Italy just banned Chat GPT. There, they banned it completely. So, but going back to the dogs though, you have these metal dogs, you know, that will, you know, basically police the street almost like the overseers did from slavery back in the days. They have these, you know, metal, you know, protection that handguns won't pierce it. And so the big guns that they're really talking about getting off the streets are the guns that people are going to require in the future to defend themselves against these rogue metal beasts attacking the population. And I'll land my plane there.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you calling in. Listen, I thank you. I listen. I'm not taking a position on this gun stuff. Y'all not finna get my butt in a sling about none of the stuff about what I think of you. And we're not taking a position on that. We're taking a position on resources. But Lord have mercy, I will say I don't want none of them metal dogs walking around like. I don't want none of them metal dogs. I would take me and my real dog in the house. That's a lot. Whew, Lord. I did see that the dogs is back outside, the metal dogs. Like they was, child. I don't even understand. And you know what people gonna say, well, it's better than the regular police. They killing us too, child. It's all gonna be set up in a way that is not beneficial to us. You better believe that. They say Italy banned Chat GPT. Somebody asked, what did Italy ban? The big AI that everybody's using. 269, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
Hey, 269, what's going on?
Hello, you there. How are you? My name is Mark. I'm calling from Michigan.
Hey.
I've been a follower of yours for a while. This is my first time calling the show. I'm glad I could do that. I tuned into your show tonight in anticipation of kind of a celebration. I guess I haven't been watching in a while, so I don't know what your tone has been here lately. But to me, today was a celebration. You look at the fact that these young black men were expelled from this legislature for the fact that they chose to spoke up on behalf of their constituency in the way that they did. And they really kind of displayed to the world kind of their authoritarian way that they run that legislature in Tennessee. And for them to just be expelled negates them having a voice at all for any black folks. To speak about reparations, gun control, or anything. So the fact that they were willing to stick in the fight and make sure that they got those seats back, those young men are to be commended. And I understand the fact that you're like, when the grifters come around and different rhetoric starts being spoke, that you do have to start watching folks, right?
Yeah, of
but
course.
For instance, with this movement, like an individual like myself, I'm kind of coming into this movement, and while I the way that you presented the argument and the knowledge that you're giving the folks to be able to present the argument is really kind of unprecedented, and kind of it has been the light to the ADOS population here in America. I mean, the conversations that you have started, you and Tone have started, really this push to where, really in my lifetime, we're saying, you know, this reparations, you know, my life might not see it, but my children might see it. Like I feel that from the movement that you started. And in that, it's like we can't exist in a bubble, right? So if I'm just coming in hearing this particular episode for the first time and trying to understand your movement, I'm saying, well, okay, well, this group is only about reparations. And if this person ain't talking about reparations first, then we're not to deal with them. Well, how do we take in the people that aren't where you are at in understanding?
Well, let me say this.
As they come into your understanding.
Well, let me say this.
Okay.
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you real quick. It's kind of like I told a woman who just called in a little while ago when she said, I think we should press everybody about reparations. I told her exactly. I said, no. I said, I don't believe that state and local lawmakers should be pressed about reparations at all for the most part. I said, I believe they should be pressed about resources. They should be pressed about resources in the community. They should be pressed about what Reggie said, gentrification or redistricting. They should be pressed about things that they have control over. Typically, your local, your state lawmakers do not have control over reparations legislation, right? They do not have control over HR 40 or its companion bill in the Senate, right? So I disagreed with her in terms of everything should kind of start and that reparations should be the litmus test at that level. Reparations is the litmus test at another level. It's one of them, but it should not be at that level. And I would also encourage anyone who is just now coming in to this movement to go to adosfoundation.org as well. And the one thing they will see mentioned, that they will see a black agenda throughout with for housing, for cannabis, for business, which would let you know that this movement is about far more than reparations. Reparations is a cornerstone, but like I explained to the young lady, what you're talking about on a state and local level is you're talking about resources coming into the community. You're talking about improving a quality of life, whether that's infrastructure, whether that's housing, whether that's, rental prices, whether that's, regardless of what that is a priority in terms of state and local levels, is resources and things that we talked about. So I think that if somebody comes into this movement, they should be able to see in terms of how I answer the calls and how I have discussions that we are not just about reparations. We are about improving the quality of life for ADOS people and black people in general, and we have a way to do that, and we discussed that.
Well, that's excellent. I'm glad you say that for the show, because that's my understanding of you. You know what I mean? But it was just because, me myself, on my Facebook and stuff, this particular incident was a big deal because I watched that hearing when they were expelled, and I, just the disgust I felt for the racism that was shown to those gentlemen, and for them to come back and their people rally around them. Forget reparations. If we can't have individuals like that within this movement, it's never going to get the traction that you want. So I think those gentlemen are to be applauded, and that's all I want to input.
Thank you. I appreciate you calling in. And let me say something. I think I started off this show saying that this was awful. Like, this was wrong to decide that because you didn't agree that these men were a part of a peaceful protest as it relates to anti-gun violence that they never should have been ejected. To me, that kind of goes without saying. Maybe I've just become sort of accustomed to like the atrociousness of racism in America, that I understand that never should have happened, but it doesn't have the kind of, it doesn't sit with me emotionally the same way it sits with y'all, because I expect it. Now, I think it's great that they got back in there, right? I think that's absolutely great. Tomorrow is a new day, though. That's kind of my thing. That's kind of how, and maybe the difference is how I live my life and how I see things. I don't rest on nothing nobody said great to me yesterday. If something had happened bad to me yesterday, if something happened good, if people told me yesterday, Yvette, I hate you. If people told me yesterday, Yvette, I love you. I wake up every day, it's a new day. So for me, I think it's great that they got back in there, but I always knew they was going to get back in there. Like, after this thing blew up, to me, there was no way they was going to just be out. Like, because these people over there, they got a bunch of egg on their face. You done kick these two people out for no reason. You have made these black men stars, right, or whatever. Like, I didn't see it ending any other way. But even if it had, they still would be stars in the Democratic Party. Now, I think it's great that they got put in, but I think for me it was kind of a foregone conclusion that they were going to get back in. What I'm saying is, it's great to say good, right? Tennessee did not get to do this undemocratic bull stuff they were trying to do. That's a great thing to do. That's a great thing to say. That's a great feeling to have. Good, they got their jobs back. That's right, because only the people can fire them. That's what democracy is supposed to mean. That was a good thing, and that was kind of to me, it was a foot in the direction of fascism to kick them out. I agree with that, but for me, tomorrow's a new day. Right, that's how I am. I don't do that with myself, and I'm not gonna celebrate that. My eye right here, it's about to be midnight. Tomorrow's a new day, and that means that they're gonna still have to be held accountable going forward. And I see people coming in moving a certain way, and I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I saw people moving a certain way and I didn't say to you, "Hey, I see something everybody needs to pay attention to." Right? That's just what it is. You can't spend too much time in these kinds of emotional spaces, whether they be negative emotional spaces or overly positive. I try to stay even keeled, and I live with joy, so I don't have to be like, I don't have to have a bunch of outside stuff for that. But I'm saying you have to you just have to be mindful of certain things. I'm going to 443. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, this is George from Maryland.
Hey, George, how you doing?
From Baltimore, Maryland. You doing fine tonight? Okay. But you're right. We do got to watch out for the okie doke. I want to start off with Stacey Abrams. Then I'm going to move on to Obama. With Stacey Abrams, if you notice during her campaign in Georgia, she did not meet with black business owners. She criticized black men in particular. She criticized the black community, while her white counterpart was actually meeting with black business owners, black conservative figures, to gain their votes. Instead, she went around criticizing people for not voting for her. She took the Hillary Clinton approach to running a campaign, and that's not how you run a campaign.
Okay.
And with Obama, if you remember the 07, 08 race with Barack Obama, he really wasn't anybody worth of note. It was him, Hillary Clinton, and John, I forget the guy's name, the white guy.
He dropped
out. Yeah, pushed out. But remember, Hillary Clinton was very popular with the black community, incredibly popular with the black community. And two, her racism started to show. And then two, Barack Obama started to win major He started winning, and then she ended up dropping out and getting her runner-up prize, Secretary of State. But remember, Barack Obama was a dark horse candidate. Mm-hmm. He came out of nowhere. I mean, how many one-term senators or congressmen do you know that just run?
Nope.
He started winning these major races, and then next thing you know, he was president.
Absolutely. You're right.
Yep, well, that's all I got.
All right, fam. I appreciate it. Let me go to 769. 769. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey, 769. What's up?
How you doing? This is Anthony.
Hey, Anthony.
From Mississippi.
I'm doing good. How about you?
I just wanted to get a couple of things on.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. Can you hear me good?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. So, first I just want to say thank you for taking my call. I always appreciate speaking with you.
Thank you.
But I also want to thank you for mentioning that what you mentioned at the top of the show about Tesla Figaro and the inappropriateness of her question to him as a state representative.
Mm-hmm.
And what I kind of want to say first about that is, well, only about that is that what we don't understand in the movement completely yet, all of us as a body, within the movement, like broadly, I'm not talking about ADOS as the organization.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, the movement as broadly doesn't understand that ADOS is coming to this fight for reparations, but also we have a black agenda.
Mm.
And the thing about reparations is it is a federal policy, and we all understand that. But what they don't understand is they don't have a real understanding of how movement power is built and facilitated.
Mm.
So we're talking about a state like Tennessee where it is overwhelmingly ran by Republicans. I'm in Mississippi. I'm under the exact same conditions. It is futile and a waste of time for municipalities or even single representatives to go into a house or in the state, in red states in the South, and put up the type of fight that they put up on behalf of fruit that will never be born. They themselves will admit, no, I know I'm not going to get guns, automatic rifles banned in Tennessee. I'm not going to get this passed in tomorrow. They'll tell you that out of their mouth, but at the same breath tell us we shouldn't fight for reparations because it's futile. You know, it's contradictory. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
The reality is they are putting up fights simply for distractions, and we're dealing with them on the ground as like black communities living here. I live in Jackson, Mississippi. We don't have trash collection right now, and it's been going on for almost a week. But we just saw for almost half of a year, our mayor has been going back and forth with our governor. And that has not gotten us a single benefit. It has all been for the media's profit, all for political profile profits, and the people have suffered under it.
Mm.
And what I have really identified, not with just these guys, but I see it in them, is the mayor that we have. He came to us as a Pan-African child of the civil rights movement, and that's not what he has governed as. And the reality is, you know, the people who got him there, they didn't care if he governed like that. He just represented that for them. He was their win. So we don't have anybody here to push him. We have sycophants here who's going to cheer for him regardless of what happens because he is that symbol, just like Barack Obama was the symbol of Black America, of Black progress. We have a whole Pan-African hodgepodge nationally that is just funding him, and we can't get him to prioritize the city of Jackson because he's not even rooted here. He's not rooted in Jackson. You know, he is just an image. You know, he rooted in some other state. I think he was born in like Detroit or something. He moved down here, but he's not rooted in no neighborhood here, so he has no particular interest in any particular street in the neighborhoods of Jackson. And as a result, we have sewage being pumped into our creeks in our legacy black communities. He has no serious care about that. He has no serious care about our water infrastructure that went on for so long, but he was willing and ready to jump in front of the camera to argue with the Republicans. And that's not what got the problem resolved. The problem not resolved now. We have some temporary fix, but that temporary fix simply came on behalf of the federal government because of Benny Thompson and advocates who actually went to D.C. and lobbied politicians, not them fighting the state representatives who they knew if they got their hands on it, they never would have got a dime of it, arguing or not.
And let me ask you a question, Anthony. Do you think that one of the problems in terms of our politicians is the only way I know how to describe it is like the politics of spectacle, right? The politics of putting on a performance as opposed to doing whatever you need to do, even if that means you go behind closed doors and keep your mouth shut. The politics of just putting on a performance rather than, okay, if I have to just kind of be quiet and humble myself or whatever, that's what I'm going to do for the needs of the people. Is the politics of spectacle a problem?
Well, I really don't think it's I don't think it's ego completely. I think the people kind of egg it on. Honestly, I sat here in Jackson and watched the people egg it on. They jump on any argument with a Republican, regardless of the substance, and they're never there for the actual, quality of life issues that affect them and their families. And politicians seize it. They seize on that opportunity. And it is an easy distraction, That's kind of how I see it, and that's how I see it being utilized by black politicians. I see it as a convenient, manipulative tool to be able to just sideswipe all type of policy accountability. Just say, oh, the Republicans after me, y'all come jump on my side. Even if they're not invested at all, if you throw that out there, you're going to get your army of people that's going to jump up and just be ready for that fight. And usually what they're fighting for has nothing to do with benefiting black communities. And that is my problem primarily. Now, it would be a different thing if you was ready and willing to pick a fight and you actually connect some fruit on the table for black communities. But that's never really the point. They always, preface the fight with, oh, don't expect too much. And, and the activists on the ground don't expect too much. They're just happy somebody is speaking for them. And, it puts us as a movement in a bad position if we can't articulate what is actually happening in real time, And, I just appreciate what you did in that regard, because that's what you did with this show tonight. You explain how we could possibly be viewing, a kind of subterfuge of actual movement energy into something that is kind of not relevant to the core principles of what the movement is even there for. And that's politics in general.
Yeah, they're gonna take that energy and use it for something else. And I think, let me just say this last thing. And it seems like to me that's kind of that's an immaturity. And I'm not saying it's just us that has that immaturity. Like, I see Republicans sometimes who, you fighting Democrats, I'm on your side. And it's just like when you have as many needs as we have, right? It one of the things that I think is just that we have to develop a kind of maturity about this fight, whereas we don't get caught up in rhetorical stuff. In terms of these back and forths, and we get caught up in, okay, that's fine, but like, what are we doing to solve this problem? So. Yeah,
I think one thing that I thought, and I'll leave you with this unless you have anything else you want to give me. One thing that came up to me was that I would much rather in a red state work in one of probably the only cities that is in that state, because most southern cities don't have just a ton of cities. Most southern states don't have a ton of cities everywhere. I'd rather be on the council where I know that I can hold a governing body accountable to the regulations that affect the quality of life of people. Whereas in a red state in the House, as a minority, first of all, those men didn't have nobody standing up when they was getting voted out for them, shouting with them, who was willing to go throw their name on the line. They were by themselves. And I would much rather be effective. I think it would be more effective, for black politicians in cities to really hone in on the quality of life issues in their areas, and they are supported by state representatives. I don't see state representatives being able to, I don't see the power coming down that way in a red state. I see it being effectively pushed upwards from cities all across that state. There are black municipalities all across Tennessee, little small hamlets, little small towns, and they are supposed to be represented by somebody. Their quality of life is supposed to be pushed to their representatives.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I think sometimes people want to take the state rep job because they have a trajectory in mind for themselves, right? But that's a great point in terms of, if you want to improve the quality of life, you have to ask yourself, what can I do the greatest amount of good? And for my people. And I don't know how many people are asking themselves that. So, but great call, Anthony. I appreciate it. Man, we got some. Whew, that was a great call.
Thank you, Love you.
Love you back. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know it.
that was a great call. Thank you, fam. That was a great call. We're gonna have to end on that one. I got some few more calls in the queue, but I'm sorry, y'all. That's it for tonight. We're gonna end on that one. I got a few. I don't know why I didn't expect this many calls tonight. But I did not expect these many calls tonight. But I absolutely I want to thank everybody who called in. We're going to end the calls right there, but I want to thank everybody who called in tonight. I'm not going to take any more calls, but that was a great call. It was some great calls tonight, though. We had some really good calls tonight. I like a little disagreement. I'm not somebody where you just gotta follow me and you just gotta whatever I say. I like it. I liked it. We gotta bump up against each other and be able to disagree and come back tomorrow and still be family, and that's fine. Like, I have no issue with that. I don't have no kind of animus towards the people I have disagreed with today or whatever. It's great. But we had some. All in all, we had some great calls, fam. I want to thank everybody. Listen, don't get your OMB letter in by the deadline. Please make sure to try to like this video before you go. Hit a little like, ding ding ding. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you haven't gone to joinados.com, please do that too. We pretty soon we will be announcing the chapter launch and some things that we're going to do in the lead up to that. So keep your ears out for that as well. But we just got to get through this OMB push first. So like first things first, priorities. So get your OMB letter in supporting our ethnic designation. Please do that. Priorities. First things first. Then we'll get to the second thing with the chapter launch. But we working. So I want to thank everybody for calling in and don't forget, and everybody for showing up. Don't forget, you always got to hold your politicians accountable. Ain't nothing hater about that. And we do have to get involved, like Reggie said, on every aspect. And like Anthony said, you might have to be on the council or the hamlet or whatever the case may be. You might not be able. That might be the most effective path for you. You have to consider that. So great show, everybody, and I will see you all later. Please keep it easy breezy. Don't bother nobody. Don't let nobody bother you. People will work your nerves. Don't let them. All right, fam. I'll see y'all next time. Patreon, I'll see everybody in YouTube. I'll see y'all this time next week. Patreon, I will see y'all tomorrow. All right? All right. Bye, everybody.